a warm welcome. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a podcast for sisters in business, those of you who are building the business as a side hustle, those of you who are just starting out and you need that guidance and tips and tricks for from me and maybe other guests that I'm gonna invite who have been there, who have done that. Because I know that when I was starting out, I would have loved to have some insight about starting out and exploring different kind of niches in my business. And especially from being a multi-passionate person, I wanted to share from my perspective how it was so important not to fit yourself in a box. So that's what this whole podcast is about. It's also about conversations that usually happens behind closed doors and when the mic is not on record mode, it's not a recording, and I want to bring those conversations at the forefront for you guys to binge watch and listen and learn as much as possible. At the same time, having a community of sisters that supports one another and share, what you're feeling, what your struggle is. And I want to be very real about what growing a business is really like and not be all just fluff, like, just adding more fluff to it because I feel like there isn't much. The reality of business is often not spoken about. All we see is like when someone after they have maybe worked half a decade and then you see the result and the success and then that's all you see, right? The tip of an ice cream, the cherry on top. You don't see how hard it was to make that ice cream and to make sure it was in the right temperature and the exploration of different flavors. I don't know. I'm giving an example of an ice cream. Maybe I'm craving for ice cream, but yeah, there's so many layers to business that we often don't talk about, and at the same time, we also take business so seriously that we often lose the joy and passion for it sometimes along the way. And it's so important to ensure that we keep the joy, we keep the passion, and we constantly remember why we started a business in the first place. So we will go through all of that realms and have fun. It's gonna be a very joyful and fun journey with with me, your host. And so I'm Musharat binti Salam. Those of you who do not know me, a little bit about me. I am from an engineering background. I have been studying marine and offshore technology for a good year, like 3 years. And then I graduated in offshore engineering with honors. And after that, I was in the marine and offshore industry for a good 2 to 3 years. And after that, there was retrenchment in the industry because the oil prices were down and a lot of people were laid off. And I was one of them. And after some time, I was like, engineering has always been my backup plan. It was never like, I never wanted to be in engineering like for the long run anyway. And one of the reasons why I was even in engineering, those of you can relate, is my dad was like, you won't really make much money in the creative world. So, don't focus on that now. Do something stable like engineering and you will go far. And then maybe after you have a stable job and you still want to do your creative work and you want to pursue all of the passion project of yours, go ahead. But start with something stable. And as you know now, there isn't much like stable jobs, like any kind of job can be replaced thanks to AI or other kind of technology being involved. So at this day and age, there isn't like any certainty of what a stable job might be. And with the creators economy booming and stuff, I think this is also a very good time to create content, put yourself out there and explore the things that you like because you never know what you might make out of it. So many people has made their passion into profits. They explored their passion projects and they placed it out there and somehow they became a thought leader in their industry, and now they're making money out of it. And it's not a bad thing if you have a side hustle. I mean, you can keep your full-time job if that's what you love as well, but there's no harm turning a side hustle into a profitable business as well. So yeah, I've been in that engineering role, the corporate life, and then I jump started my journey as a freelancer photographer. Okay, so when I jump started my photography journey as a female photographer in Singapore, there was a gap in the market. I realized that there wasn't much people positioning themselves as a social media photographer because I genuinely love working with brands and women-owned businesses. And when I looked through the profiles from different photographers, they were mostly wedding photographers, but not much people position themselves as a social media photographer. And at that time, I was also building my personal brand, and I was documenting my beauty journey, my modest fashion, um, my modest fashion interest. I used to like take videos of lookbooks and stuff because there was also like not much modest fashion influencers in the market based in Singapore. And I wanted to be one of the faces, and I wanted to represent people who wears the hijab and who loves wearing modest clothes and all of that jazz. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna explore the modest fashion world and see where that goes. And that also led me to have a lot of brand collaborations like Style Theory and other local brands that love to work with me. Another one was Modernisa, which is also like an international brand. So I also had that taste of what what it feels like to be a so-called influencer, but even though I don't really like the word, but that's what it is, like how it is to work with brands and promote their products. So I think that was really, really nice. And soon after that, I also like jumped into the whole photography thing and positioned myself as a social media photographer. And that's when I think within the first month, I got about good 10 to 20 inquiries for women-owned businesses. And they all required a woman, like a female photographer, because they preferred female photographers over male photographers. And that's when I spoke to them personally, and they told me like there is a lack in like there is a gap in the market. They would want to see more female photographers because they're more comfortable working with female photographers. So my business grew quite rapidly within like 2, 3 months. I collaborated with a few creative people in my industry as well, and soon like started increasing my prices. Learned about creating price like increasing my prices confidently and upgrading my gears and constantly learning new skills of photography. I think about 3 months in, that's when one of my photography clients was like, I realized, on your personal page, you really manage your Instagram account really nicely and is really aesthetically pleasing. And I would want that for my business. So could you, do you want to manage my Instagram account? Mind you, I never thought I will suddenly take up Instagram management position, or thought that people would want to pay me for it. And even though I had never made like a contract, a freelancing contract, I never really created like a professional invoice for such thing. I was like, okay, I have no clue how I'm gonna go about this. Not sure what an Instagram management entails. No idea how to create a social media report. But I said yes. I said yes, and I told myself, whatever that needs to be learned, I'll learn on the job. I'll learn as I go. And I also had like a business buddies who have been doing that, like social media management, and they definitely guided me throughout the whole process, and that helped me a lot. I feel like I couldn't have done it alone. And soon enough, I was managing 2, 3, 4 accounts because it just I realized there was a market for even that because people needed to aesthetically manage their feed, create content, caption stories, and that creative thing. That's what people needed at that point, and they still need it now. So I became an Instagram manager and a marketer, and after some time, I was like, how else can I scale the business? And I always wanted to create digital products, and that was my goal. And I engaged with a business coach, and she was like, to sell anything, you need to build an authority in your business. And at that point, I was still growing almost like an amateur Instagram marketer manager. And she said, grow your following, grow your audience a bit, have build that authority, and become an Instagram coach instead. Coach, people who needs to be coached about certain, strategies for their marketing in their business, or they need help with certain things that you have the knowledge in, and then sell products to them. If they don't want coaching, they can get digital products that you can package them into maybe courses instead. So I wasn't too sure about like being an Instagram coach, but I just dived in anyway. And one thing I realized when I reflect back upon the way I do business is I usually say yes, even if I don't have all the answers. And I think that's a very important thing to have, especially when you're just starting out, because you do not know which spectrum, which realm, or what niche is going to work. And especially if you're a multi passionate person like me, you just have to try out all of the interests and give it a fair shot. Give every interest a fair shot and see where it takes you. And don't, like, we all need that courage, and we need to act in spite of having some sort of fear. You just have to dance with the fear, and have that courage to take that step. And I think that's one important takeaway from starting a side hustle and making into a profitable business. But having that courage to say yes will take you very, very far. Fun fact, this whole name of the podcast, Side Hustle Sisters, was just born yesterday. And today I'm filming it. Do I have all the episodes planned out? No. I only have my introduction video, which I'm doing right now, filming it right now, and my first episode. And that's all I have. Not invited any guests. I'm not really sure what kind of format I'm going to play with, what kind of segments there's going to be in the podcast. Also, after a week after I named it Side Hustle Sister, I brainstormed a little bit more and I decided to change it. So here is Future Moose telling you that, I mean, Future Moose, because, a video that you just watched, the clip that you just watched was I brainstormed within a day and I wanted to just execute, starting the recording process of my podcast. So that's why I didn't want to delay it. But I am changing the podcast name now and converting it to Slaying It. And this is to also give you an example that you can always change your branding and all of that along the way. You don't have to get so fixated about perfecting, all this nitty-gritty stuff. Because at the end of the day, no one really is going to care about what my podcast name is. I just want it to be short, catchy, and concise, and it relates to my brand voice. So it's a quick tip to ensure that you do not waste so much time on perfecting all of your branding and your aesthetics and whatever that comes to your mind, and that becomes like a resistance for you to even start your entrepreneurial journey. Oftentimes we get into that freeze mode and we just overthink everything in front of us. And all we need to do at the end of the day is just focus on the next step. And when we don't do that, and when we look at the whole staircase, we often get very overwhelmed. And that's natural thing to do. And I also want to mention that it's also very human to be afraid of the unknown, but it's also very liberating when you let go of that unknown and you enter everything that you're exploring with a very childlike curiosity. Like, and you don't have that expectation that you put upon yourself that this has to be perfect. I follow this business coach. His name is George Kao. He's an authentic business coach, and I absolutely love his content. And not because it's polished and his editing style is like the best. I love him for his authenticity. He records everything, I think, with a earpiece, with not so much of production or with the best tool or camera. I feel like when you look at his kind of content, it's like chilling with a lovely, authentic business coach next door. And he gives you that vibe. And in a world where everything is so polished and perfect looking, I appreciate his raw kind of videos and audio content that he puts out everywhere without much overthinking. And I feel like when we practice that diligently, we also get to our goals a bit more faster. So definitely, I'm excited to see more women of color, more Muslim business owners, having the stage and doing amazing work that they are great at, and not being also tied down um, with societal expectations on what a woman should be in this day and age. I know a lot of mothers who wants to do so much, but because they have so many other responsibilities that they always find it challenging to, manage a side hustle business and manage their family, keep their faith intact. And I feel like as women, we carry out so many different kind of responsibilities that sometimes we tend to keep our passion projects at the back of our mind, and it takes a back seat, and we forget that we too have so much of creative energy to explore the things we love to do. And this podcast is dedicated for these women that I admire so much, because even though you guys are not on the limelight, you guys have not started creating content, or you guys are just starting out and you're balancing so many other aspects of life. I see you and I'm so proud of you. And I hope that we will be growing together in this journey of exploration and growing something that we love with so much joy and passion, and with the intention to serve our community with our talent and skill. And of course, this podcast came about is because I am so passionate working with women over the years that I thought this would be a great platform to connect with more women in business. And at the same time, it will be fun to interview different women more intentionally and know them more beyond their business and get to know them more personally. And I know that everyone else listening would benefit from such conversations. Since we are just starting out, most of the first few episodes will be solo episodes where I'll go deep dive into various topics related to entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, just starting on a side hustle, growing your business, how to adapt to life events, if there is big life events like a wedding, marriage, or even a migration, because I went through that, and how to keep up the momentum, especially when things get tough. And we also talk about the reality of business, how you won't always love every aspect of business. There will be certain mundane tasks that you'll be surprised that you'll be like, I didn't sign up for this. But yeah, there will be stuff that you wouldn't like to do, and that is okay. So I want to also share about the reality of how it is like to do a business, and certain things that you might be surprised about, and to honestly talk about how to go through those things when it does happen and when you have those realizations. Do you quit altogether, or do you find a way around it? We need to build businesses with more joy, more intention, and with purpose. And it doesn't have to be soul suckingly painful. And we also do not have to say yes to all the marketing strategies out there if it's not ethical, if it doesn't align with who we are. And definitely no to all those formal strategies, those tapping onto people's fears and people's pains and all of those tactics. If that doesn't align with who you are, you do not have to adopt it in your marketing strategies. So I also want to deep dive into the values that we are building in our business. We do not have to say yes to the majority marketing strategies out there. So for us, it's all about doing business with joy, passion, and purpose, while also prioritizing sustainability and ethics. So if you are a sister that is building a business and you want to build a business that aligns with who you are, that is authentic to who you are, and you want to build it with passion and joy, then this podcast is for you.